I'm Jenna.
Hello, I'm Gloria.
We are Worthy Wellness.
Because we are worth it.
Our purpose is to introduce women entrepreneurs, products, and services while proceeds help women in need for holistic care and therapy services.
Welcome, ladies. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Worthy Wellness podcast. Today, our guest is going to be Lauren from Live, Love, Food for Life. And she's the founder and CEO of this wonderful company. Lauren is also a previous guest, but she is coming on monthly to talk about certain topics. She is a holistic nutritionist dietitian. And so we have the pleasure of having Lauren on with us again. So Lauren, what's going to be our topic for today?
Gloria, today I thought we can talk about stress and how it relates to the body and how it impacts our overall health, but as well as nutrition. I don't think we give stress enough credence. And so I think that is going to be a really good topic considering the current situation in society today. There's a lot of stress, post-COVID. So yeah, I thought that would be a good one to discuss.
I think that's a great topic. I mean, just, going out and about and doing grocery shopping today, everyone in the store just felt so stressed, exhausted, overworked, because we all are at this point in time. So I know that affects a lot of us mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. So I think you've picked a great topic.
In practice, what I've recognized is that stress can actually dictate the foods that we consume. There's a lot of emotional eating when it comes to stress. And then on the flip side, you can also look at you don't want to eat when you're stressed. There's some of the people that, I'm not hungry because I'm just super duper stressed. I have a lot of these things on my mind and, they stop eating altogether. And then we have those that, oh my God, I just need that ice cream, right? I need that hit of ice cream. And then we have the people that, do other substances like alcohol or smoking, they're out there drinking and smoking, right? And then, smoking does tend to suppress hunger. And so there goes that cycle, that vicious cycle when we are stressed about financial reasons or our health or family members or our children. So there's lots of different reasons to have stress in our life. Whether it's economical or just life in general.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I think that this is such a great topic because it's a behavior, right?
Right.
That we are experiencing. And so we definitely want to learn how to cope with it. I'm always recommending therapists. I think that's really, really important. They help to provide coping mechanisms to support people during their moments of challenges, whether it could be a divorce that you're going through, right? Or death, funerals, right? Mm-hmm. Lots of different things. And that causes an upsurge in emotions. And so you definitely want to seek guidance. And it doesn't have to be therapy. It can be friends. It can be your minister, it can be a priest if that's, who you see. It can be anybody. It can be an activity, right? So there's lots of different ways of coping with stress. I mean, there's a lot of different healing modalities as yourself, energy healer. Myself as a Reiki practitioner. There's Qigong, yoga, deep breathing. There's so many different modalities that you can use to help soothe the nervous system, because that's essentially what's going awry when we're stressed out. Our nervous system is just out of whack, and I do want to discuss the mechanism. So I'm not going to get too sciencey, but I am going to get a little sciencey. But I'll keep it understandable, because I think even I had difficulty in school learning the science behind the stress mechanisms. Yeah.
Well, you say the word stress, and it's a huge umbrella of so many things that are beneath it.
Yeah.
Like you say, there's stress is just, it covers a lot.
Yeah.
And it affects so much.
Yeah.
And it affects so many people in different ways.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I'm a stress eater and I just want to eat salty stuff, which I know is not good for me. Then my inflammation kicks up, migraines. And then I have friends or know people that their stressors are sweets, sugars, you know, carbs. And then they get upset stomachs, you know, the whole gamut. And so stress is just a very, very big root, right? And then what's underlining what's on that root. So if you look at a tree and you see the roots and you pull those roots out, under each root, it's going to have a stressor.
Yeah.
You know, what's the stressor on that? You know, money, children, marriage, job, traffic, you know, having to drive in traffic in California for hours and hours. Yes. So when you talk about stress and coping, let's talk about food.
Okay.
So you have your patients that come in and see you and they're like, I'm super stressed.
Yeah.
The first thing you ask them is, what are you eating? How do you do that?
So when it comes to stress, they'll immediately say, I'm an emotional eater. I eat when I'm stressed. And what I like to uncover is what types of food they're eating. And a lot of times, like you said, it's that sweet, salty, savory type of food that they are consuming. And everybody has their vices. I mean, but ice cream is a big one, right? Who doesn't like ice cream, right?
Right.
But
okay, so you're talking about ice cream. Let's talk about that when people eat something when they're super stressed.
So what happens, and you had asked me the question as what's happening to the person, and a lot of them tend to crave ice cream. They crave sweets, sweet or salty. Right. And normally that happens because there's something that's taking place with our adrenal glands. And I'll get into that in a little bit, because they are part of our fight or flight or survival mode mechanisms. But one of the things that I say to my patients, clients, is that I cannot compete with stress. If we don't work on mitigating that, food isn't going to be, I mean, it's going to help them. It really is going to help them. We can work on getting them foods, but their cravings might supersede if, they haven't worked on what their stress triggers are, right? They may supersede. I have patients that are bariatric patients, and they're like, I get these intense cravings, and it's really difficult to override that craving, to find alternative ways to satisfy that craving. And so then sometimes we have to work in with different methods. It's like, okay, well, maybe you just have a little bite of that and put it away, so that you can satisfy the craving. One of the things that they've said, and I'm just bringing this up for continuity, is that they said that the first 3 bites of a dessert are the first 3 satisfying bites, right? Because you can actually taste the flavors, the textures. There is so much more, I'm sure, that a culinary expert could probably go into it. But there's different methods that I work with them into trying to maybe get rid of the foods that tempt them out of the house and things to that nature. But when it comes to the discipline of not consuming the foods, sometimes their stress levels are so high that they just give in. They just give in. And so when that happens, it becomes very difficult for nutritionists to compete with those behaviors because
Right.
they're so cemented in their daily life, and there's a lot of other root causes for those particular behaviors, and how they're handling their stress. But so I work with them slowly, because behavior is one of the hardest things to change. Are you getting enough nutrition? I can say, but when, because the first thing they want to do is, what do I eat? I can tell you what I eat or what to eat till I'm blue in the face. It's you're the one that has to apply it.
Right.
But when you're stressed and your mortgage is due, or your taxes went up, or your tuition is due, or whatever the case is, or your car payment, or you got into an accident, or you broke up, whatever those things are, they're going to supersede food, because you're seeking comfort. What you're seeking is that hit of serotonin, right? You're wanting that feel-good neurotransmitter to get to you quickly, because you know what? You're not feeling the greatest because you're in a down moment. And so the ice cream tends to beat out everything, whether it's ice cream or chips, right? Those are a lot of big common ones. So let me give you a little bit of the context. So on top of our kidneys, our renal glands. So we have tiny little glands that are called the adrenal glands. And their purpose, they secrete many other chemicals, which are hormones, right? However, one of their purposes is to secrete cortisol, epinephrine, norepinephrine. Another name for that is adrenaline, right? And that adrenaline is a signaling molecule, right, for the liver to release glucose into the system, because our body doesn't know that it's in 2023, that we're sitting down, stressed out, we're in bed, lying down, we're on the floor crying, whatever it is that we're doing, stressed or angry or whatever. It thinks of the caveman days when we're running from a predator, right? We're going to be running there. I see Gloria running from her dinosaur, right? Yeah. Even though it's an imaginary dinosaur, that's what the body thinks it's doing. It's running from a dinosaur. You're either going to run from it, you're going to fight from it, or you're going to freeze and be quiet, right? So the body knows that it has to release all this energy so that it can provide energy for your muscles, right? Because you're going to use your arms, your hands to fight, or you're going to use your legs to run. So you need that extra energy, and it's called a catabolic process, meaning you're breaking down. And so when you're breaking down that energy, it's going into the bloodstream. So glucose is going into the bloodstream. And this is why a lot of my patients with diabetes, my clients with diabetes, they're like, I don't even eat. But my blood glucose is super high. And I'm like, are you stressed? Well, yeah, I started a new job. I didn't have a job. And so those are the things that happen. So you have all this glucose in your blood, and the body has to do something with it. Normally, in the olden days, right, in the caveman days, we're running. We're using our glucose. We're running from the predator. But in today's day and age, we're not. We're sitting or laying or still, and we're not utilizing that energy. And so what happens with that energy? The body's going to use part of it for energy and for use, right? For what we need. Part of it's going to be filtered out through the kidneys, which can even put you at risk for urinary tract infections, and for women, potential yeast infections. But also it's going to be saved, or it's going to be produced into what we call triglycerides. It's a sugar molecule that is made. And the body knows it has ample space for fats. And so guess what? That triglyceride is a form of fat, right? It's a type of cholesterol. It's a form of fat, and it's going to pack it away wherever we don't want it, right? For women, maybe on our hips, behind our arms. We don't like those little flaps, the belly, right? And so that is what happens. That's part of the mechanism with stress and the adrenal glands. And this is a very, very difficult cycle to turn off, because think about our body. If we have any other conditions, whether it be heart failure or hypertension, which is very, very common, diabetes, right? An autoimmune condition, whatever it is, that's a stress in the body.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine you're having that stressor on top of your other stressors. That's that constant mechanism that's just going to keep, it's a vicious cycle that's going to just keep going. And so that's one of the first things that I try to support my patients in, is helping them how to work through those behaviors, right? And definitely helping them find someone that can support them in their journey of reducing stress, right? I mean, there's when you're experiencing death in a family, right? You have all the I'm searching for the words, all the processes, right, that you go through,
Right.
When a family member, or even a friend for that matter, or a pet, my gosh, there's a lot of things, people experience grief over the love of a pet. So you go through the stages, that's the word I was looking for, the stages of grief. And so that's stress, right? So you want to find the proper therapist or person to support them in that journey.
Right. And it is, I mean, I'm speaking for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I know in having to deal with a lot of
Mm-hmm.
stress, but that fight or flight
Mm-hmm.
moment,
Mm-hmm.
where I can feel my body just shooting up,
Mm-hmm.
all the adrenaline,
Mm-hmm.
all my adrenals are going out of whack, my blood pressure is shooting up, and then I don't get hungry and I don't really eat, but I know that I'm just putting on weight because it's just going straight to my belly.
Mm-hmm.
Cortisol's just going straight to my belly. And so, then it's okay. I have to realize and kind of figure out, how am I going to not go into that space of fight or flight when I'm trying to relax and calm myself down. And then if I do get hungry, what is it that I'm really going to eat at this time? Because right now my body's like trying to take off and run from the dinosaur, the bear, right? But what do I want to eat to kind of just relax me and calm down? And that the bear's going to be like, well, I don't want to taste of that. I'm just going to take off the other way. Let's just have her moment and just kind of calm down. And what do you say to that? Because there has to be, I know it's got to go hand in hand, something that's tease, or, like I said, I'm a chip salty person, instead of going and getting the bag of, Doritos, which the first 3 taste pretty good, but by the 4th or 5th, I'm like, I really don't want these. But my body's like, well, just keep eating anyway, because we're fight or flight right now. So what do you recommend? I'm coming into you as a client, and what would you say?
So there are a lot of medicinal teas that help support calming, chamomile, lavender. And there are other foods that can support you. However, one of the things that we notice is that stress normally stems from other underlying issues. And sometimes they're out of my scope of practice to dig in deep. I do get a lot of, because I spend quite a bit of time with my patients' clients, that, I do get a lot of that information, and I'm able to support them in the way that, what do you think about this? So I'm constantly looking for different modalities. As far as food, I recommend, going to things that are going to bring out what they're desiring. Like if they want salty, they can make homemade chips, right? If you have an air fryer, you can make homemade potato chips and salt them and season them the way that you like. That way, what kind of oil you're using, versus you get the Lay's potato chips, right? And they're using the cheapest quality oil and, and they're sliced super thin, right? You can make them a little thicker and a little crunchier, however you like them. And you can season up really nicely. And also I go to, cause I'm Latina. And so one of the things that I know that I like is in crunchy is like jicama and cucumbers and, celery and lots of different carrots. And so what I say to them is, have some of those ready and available and just add some spice to them, right? And some salt, a little bit of salt, and chomp on those for a little while because it gives you that hand to mouth motion that you really want to achieve. And then I also say fruits for the people that like the sweets. I recommend, I love the apple and peanut butter. I call it a dessert, but it's just the apples and peanut butter, right? But I make it into a donut shape. And I love that particular because it gives you both sweet and salty, right? In the peanut butter. And it doesn't have to be peanut butter because a lot of people are allergic to peanut butter. It can be any nut. It can be any nut. And seeds, right? They're now coming out with sunflower seeds and pumpkin seeds and pistachio butters and lots of different ones. Tahini, which is sesame seeds. So you can definitely create your own version of a healthy snack for your satisfaction. Sometimes, good old fashioned spoonful of peanut butter, right, is just going to get you that feeling of satisfaction because there's a little sweet, there's a little salty, and there's some fat in it, right? And you just put it in your mouth and you're like, okay, that's good. I'm happy. Let me just move on. I'm past this moment of strain versus eating that whole bag of Doritos because that's how it's going to go down because you're feeling bad. You're not feeling yourself. And that was one of my favorite chips when I'm not going to lie. That was one of my favorite chips with bean dip, Doritos and bean dip.
Right.
Oh my God. That was a thing, but that's another thing that you can do is making your own tortilla chips, that's I think it's underestimated on how delicious they are and making yourself like a guacamole with some salt and some paprika and some spice and some jalapenos and putting that and sitting that. I would rather hands down, I would rather eat the tortillas that I made, the tortilla chips that I made and a whole bowl of guacamole. Yes, you heard me, a whole bowl of guacamole than the whole bag of Doritos.
Right.
Because at least I'm going to not feel as guilty.
Yeah.
Eating that avocado the way I like it, right? And I'm going to make a healthy version and it's going to satisfy me because I'm going to be like, oh yes, I ate that whole bowl, and it just feels good when you eat it because you're like, oh, okay, this is an alternative way of getting my fix. Right.
See, I love that because I know I was stressed a while back and I remember we're talking about that and you said, have some jicama and I love jicama.
Yeah.
So I knew that something was coming up that was going to be stressful for me. Yeah. So when I went grocery shopping, I go down the chip aisle and I'm like, do I get those saladitos that are really spicy and crunchy? They're basically like pork rinds.
Yeah.
Yes, I said that, pork rinds. And I put the bag back and I went produce department. I got me a jicama.
Yeah.
I got me a bag of apples, peanut butter.
Oh, nice.
And I brought it home because I just knew what was going to be coming up for me this particular week. I was very proud of myself because I sliced that jicama and I had that instead of the Doritos that I already had in my pantry for my grandson, by the way. And I ate some of that and I felt really good. Yeah. I didn't, because on top of that fight or flight and stress, for me, when I eat that bag of Doritos, then let's just add shame on that because I've just stuffed my face, late at night because I can't sleep with Doritos. Right. But this time I'm like, no, I'm not going to wait till late at night. I'm going to have some jicama, kind of crave that, do some breath work, and then I'm good. Next day, I had apple and peanut butter. I was so proud of myself. And that's because of you telling me that one time we were talking, I took you to your word and I said, this is what I'm going to do. So it's really made a very, very big difference for me in that regard, that I'm eating healthier. Yes, I'm eating when I'm stressed, but it's something that's not bad for me. It's healthy.
Yeah.
And on top of all that, I don't beat myself up for eating something that's not healthy for me.
Yeah.
So it's like a circle, it's a never ending circle. But I like that advice that you're giving, because so many of our listeners will be like, well, you know what? I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go and get some jicama or some fruit for myself, or make some homemade tortilla chips instead of going to the store and buying all that junk. I think you should do a live video with you cooking a stress menu.
That would be a great idea. So, you hit on a couple of things. One of the things that I like about the peanut butters and the apple, and for the jicama, as a Latina, there's the tajin, and that one goes a long way. Tajin and lemon, and you can add that with a little bit of salt on some cucumbers, and that really hits the spot, and it's refreshing, right? And you can do the same to mango, right? A papaya, and they give you such a different experience than if you were to go and have the Snickers. One of the things that I've done is that when I make my little apple donuts, I take the core out of the apple, and then I slice them like a donut, and I spread my nut butter on it. I put toppings because you know what? I'm an all in kind of girl, right? And so I want to make sure that I'm eating a donut. So I'm pretending I'm at the donut shop and I want my sprinkles, right? And so I'll get coconut shreds, unsweetened coconut shreds. I'll get my cacao nibs, unsweetened cacao nibs. I'll throw those on there. And sometimes if I'm in the mood, I might put, I cut up some dates and I might sprinkle a couple of pieces on there because they're super sweet. And I'll eat that up. And that to me is very satisfying. But you also mentioned another point is shame. That is huge. That's in a topic of itself, because that's another stressor is shame. We have so much shame when we put what we call bad food into our body. And I really don't like to stigmatize food like that. I don't believe that it may be beneficial for you in a nutrient dense type of way, but it does bring us joy, right? And so that is an emotion. I'm not condoning you go out and eat it every day because it gives you joy, but occasionally, yeah, I mean, no one's perfect, right?
Right.
But occasionally, yeah, who didn't like that In-N-Out burger and the French fries? I did, right, before I became vegan. But I think that having that shame behind what we eat, and I always try, that's one of the first things that I do work on, is, and every person is different, is the relationship you have with food. Because, I've mentioned it before. We either love food and we love to eat it, or we hate food, or we have, it can even be, I love to hate food, or I love to love food, right? Kind of thing. So I think that's a really rough behavior to get past. It's building a positive relationship with food, because that could have been something we learned from our parents. It could be stemming down from generations past, right? And it's something that we're carrying forth. And we don't know how to work through it. But it's building confidence with people and having a positive relationship with food again, so that they can feel good about what it is that they are consuming. But yeah, shame goes hand in hand with food. It's because in society today, we've stigmatized food and we said it's either good or it's bad. But see, I say this to my kids all the time. My good can be your bad. Your bad can be my good, right? Because if my good is celery, and to my daughter, that's bad, right? And her good is that In-N-Out burger or the pizza, and that to me, that could be my bad. Right. So everybody has a different perspective. It's about understanding where they are and then working with that. Right. But it's about really working on trying to support them in their current space in time, right? And taking baby steps. And I think I've said before, I'm a rip the Band-Aid off kind of girl. Don't tease me. Don't tease me, right? That's me.
Mhm.
Just don't tease me, right? Rip it off. So when I became vegan, it was pretty much overnight. Like I was reading books, nutrition books and things like that for some months before, but from having a carnivore, it was like literally overnight. It was a carnivore one day, the next day I was vegan. And so I had to learn from that point on because I refused to eat any more animal products. And slowly I've evolved, to where I'm at today. But nevertheless, it's about working with the individual where they're at, right?
See, and I love that. And I think that that's where you doing your one-on-one with your clients, with your patients, getting from that root of what is your fear, what is your worry, what is your stressor, and then knowing that shame comes along with that. Because a lot of people don't really even like to admit that they're stressed because we're not supposed to be strong and courageous and live life. So with all of that, that we all have to carry, as humans, human beings, I like the fact that you can sit down with the client, patient, one-on-one and say, let's get to this root. Let's figure out what your stressors are. Let's walk you through that fight or flight, right? And then let's not be shameful that you're having to go through this because everyone is.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about you and how you care for your patients and what you're trying to do to help others holistically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And I really, really like that about your program, your business. And I don't even see it as a business. I see it as a love because you love doing that. You just do. And that's what I love about how you handle and work with people. When you see that and you see someone that's really coming in with all of that impact and you see, okay, this is going to be a good person to work with. At the end of the day, what is it that you really just want to accomplish with them?
I just want to help them understand what's going on with their body because it's theirs. I mean, there's not a person in the world that knows themselves better than them, right? And it's about understanding, and giving them that ability to advocate for themselves, and make those educated decisions. I don't want to take away their autonomy. I want to give them their autonomy so that they can go ahead and feel like, oh my God, I feel like I know what's going on with my diabetes. I feel like I know what's going on with my cholesterol levels. I feel like I know what's going on with my thyroid. And don't get me wrong, I get conditions that I was like, I haven't heard of that one. And so when I know they're coming, I'm looking it up, right? I'm looking it up. I'm researching it. I'm trying to get myself some education on that so that I can support them, right? And but yeah, that's really at the end of the day, what I want to do as a clinician is that I want to make an impact in their life so that they can take their life back and live it.
I love that. And take their life back from the stress, from the fight or flight, from the shame.
Yeah.
And I just absolutely just love that about you, Lauren. I really do. I mean, this has been a really great topic. We could go on for a very long time talking about these issues and stressors and everything else. But I'm glad that you chose this topic. I think it's much needed. And I just hope that everyone really is able to understand that they're not alone with their stress.
No.
They're not alone with their fight or flight. They're not alone with that shame, feeling all of that. And if there's someone there's someone here out in this world like you and other practitioners that are here to help us understand that and work through it. And how can our listeners reach you?
I have an Instagram and it is Live Love Food for Life. And I also have a website, livelovefoodforlife.com. There is messaging that they could message me via the website, but there's also messaging via Instagram. So they can do that. I thought I had a Facebook, but no, apparently not yet. But we are in the works of getting my Facebook page up. And so, yeah, they can reach me that way. But, I do want to say one last word about stress. I don't think that subject is elucidated as what can cause weight gain, because everybody's so concerned about weight.
Mm-hmm.
Stress can cause weight gain. Stress can cause your sugar to go up. Stress can cause your high blood pressure to go up. Your blood pressure to go up. Stress can cause so many different things. It can cause a major imbalance in your body. So, I wanted just to give that little last tidbit, and kind of bring it all together on why stress is such a big deal to me, because it's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. There's not one person that I talk to that doesn't have some kind of stress in their life.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
It affects every single person,
Mm-hmm.
even from a young child who's stressed because he's got to go to school and learn or take a test or whatever issues that they may be having, to a college student, to an employee having to, work 40 hours a week or plus. It just goes on and on.
Yeah.
But the fact that we're not alone, that we all are here to help each other, but we have practitioners like yourself, I think that gives a lot of us a lot of encouragement. It makes us feel like, okay, great, there's someone I can reach out and talk to that's going to be able to help me. So again, I want to thank you for coming in today and doing this podcast. I think it's a great topic. We're going to probably touch on this topic again. And really look out for Lauren's Instagram page. She's posting some great recipes on there because she's also she's a chef, holistic chef, I'm going to call her. And her cooking is delicious, but look what she's posting. You get some great ideas on there. And let's just, again, try to control our stress. I know it's easier said than done, but reach out to Lauren if you want a one-on-one. She can kind of help you with it. And thank you again, Lauren, for being with us today. It was a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And have a wonderful and blessed week. Thank you.
You too.
If you're also a woman entrepreneur to support our cause and would like to be considered on this podcast, please reach out to us. We would love to connect. We see you. We want to connect, empower, and inspire others. So please call or text or even fax 949-793-8781. Or our Instagram is Worthy Wellness Inc., like INC. Hope to hear from you, and thank you for listening.